Hello, it's me, Vicky Marie, and good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. So in tonight's video, of course, this is members only. It is carry on chatting. Um, it's the best night of the week. Mondays now, of course, is members' lives. And we're going to be talking about, oh God, my voice is going already. I've had quite a few classes today, so oh my God, need a bit of lubrication. Tonight we're going to be talking about the Delphi murders. We're going to be talking about Abbi and Libby, who are up in the right hand corner there. But we're going to be talking about a few other things. I've got some little musings that I want to talk about from my classes today, things that have made me think. But mainly we get the trial of the person accused, allegedly, who killed Abbi and Libby. You know, he has to have his fair trial, as does everyone, I suppose. Richard Allen. So this is Abbi and Libby. We're going to be talking about them, what happens to them. This is a terrible crime. I mean, really, you know, they're all terrible, aren't they? But this is especially terrible. And this is the man accused of killing those two young girls. But his trial's just begun. Things have come out already. We have to wait and see. There's a lot more to come out with this trial, that's for sure. And then, you know, the jury will find him either guilty or not. So that's what the main thing that we're going to talk about. But we're going to talk about some other things too. So let's chat. Hi, it's me. So I've just read, of course, we are a community, not only the members, but all my chatters, my little dog's just decided it's time to play tennis ball. He's throwing his tennis ball at my feet. You know, we are a community, and I put a post on earlier, a community post, and I want to thank everybody who responded, because one of our community, I'm not a member at the moment, but I have been a member. It's a bit of a long story. There you go. Did you see the tennis ball going there? See what my dog does? He throws it at my feet until I throw it for him. And they unfortunately had a bereavement over the weekend. So I put a post on. I want to light a candle for that person's loved one. I'm not going to name them, because unless they actually, you know, they don't, you know, they probably want to remain anonymous. So I just want to light a candle for them and for their loved one, because it was a shock bereavement. You know, it wasn't expected. So it's very sort of, you know, I think it's nice that they shared it with me. I think the other thing I want to say is thank you not only to all you members, but everybody who sends me emails and trusts me with their life stories, if you like. You know, I get a lot of emails from people, not for any reason, but just they want to share something with me, tell me something that's happened to them, what's going on in their lives. Sometimes it's sad things, sometimes it's happy things. You know, and I just want to thank everybody for that trust that they put in me, because they know it won't go any further unless they want it to. And I've had some really nice emails lately. I mean, I always do, but it just seems like lately everything's felt sort of, I feel really privileged that people trust me with the information about their life. You know, it is really nice that people can do that. And, you know, sometimes I think, because the thing is, you know, people, they can. Do you know what it's like sometimes, and you feel like you just want to get something out, but of course you can't tell your family or your friends sometimes because it's too close to home, isn't it? You don't want to upset them. You don't want them to think, you know, to worry about you. Or maybe it's them that you're pissed off about. You know, it might be your husband, it might be your children, it could be anyone. And it's so nice that people feel that they can do this. You know, sometimes I get these emails and they're just telling me, really spilling out what's going on in their lives. And it's nice that they trust me with that. So I just want to say thank you to that. And anyone can do that. It'll never go any further. You don't have to feel bad about it afterwards, because sometimes then I get an email and people say, oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said all that or blah. It doesn't matter. It's like, you know, if that helps in that moment, honestly, just have a rant. Because having a rant sometimes, it's a good thing, isn't it? I always used to write things down. I always kept a journal. Now I suppose I go on YouTube and have a rant. But, you know, some things I can't rant about on YouTube. But, yeah, we all need a rant, don't we, sometimes? So, you know, don't worry about it. Now, what I want to talk about first, before I start talking about the Delphi murders and poor Libby and Abbi and their poor families, and, you know, I hope they've waited a long time for this trial. 7 years, I think it is, ago that this happened. We're looking more detail to the case in a moment. But I just wanted to start off with something a bit lighter, because in classes today, in my Spanish classes today, at the moment, I've got quite a lot of students from different nationalities. That's one of the things I love about my Spanish classes, about my job as a Spanish teacher. And on YouTube, I get different nationalities, but not so much as I do in my Spanish classes. One day I'm going to have to write down the number of nationalities that have come through my doors to learn Spanish. Now, the thing they all have in common is that they speak English, because I teach Spanish through English, if you like, with explanations in English. And also at the moment, I've got a couple of young students, like really young teenagers under 16, boys. I've got a Latvian student, and I've got an Icelandic student. And I mean, over the years, I've had all sorts of nationalities: Russian, Norwegian, from the Faroe Islands, from, you know, all different, Sweden, etc. But these are the two foreign nationalities, if you like, that I've got at the moment. Don't think I've got any other foreign people. Well, I've got some Irish students. You can call them foreign. No, you know what I mean. I'm only joking. I'm teasing. I'm joking. But yeah, and Scottish, of course. But what I'm talking about are people that speak a different language. And I love it, because you get to know about different cultures that, you know, I would never know. And I've mentioned before, my son did go off to Iceland to stay with a friend of his, but I've never been to Iceland. I'd quite like to go, you know, but having said that, there's always volcanoes going off, isn't there, at the moment? So maybe not at the moment. But it's always somewhere that sort of intrigued me to go and visit. Anyway, so this young lad who's coming for classes, who's from Iceland, he was telling me today about, you know, because the sort of questions we get into in classes, like what's your favourite food, you know, what's a typical traditional dish in your country, etc. And, you know, there's things that I've learned over the years that I wish I hadn't learned. For example, in the Faroe Islands, they like to eat puffins. Puffins are a delicacy in the Faroe Islands, they eat puffins, and they thought it was hilarious that I was like, "What, you eat puffins?" Because but what's the difference really between eating a puffin or eating a chicken? If you eat meat, if you eat animals, then I suppose you shouldn't really, differentiate. So it's a delicacy in the Faroe Islands. So I was asking this guy, because when my son went to Iceland, he loved it there. Now he's the father of the family the father in the family that he was staying in. He was a fisherman, like I don't know. It's quite a big. They were quite wealthy. This family that he went off to stay with. I don't think he was ever the same when he came back, because he saw a different side of life. This family, the mother was an architect. She designed their own house, which actually had it was heated going for the car to go out of the house. It was a fabulous house that he stayed in. It wasn't like our little house. And anyway, he ate a lot of fish while he was there. And in fact, this family sent my son home with a frozen fish in his suitcase. His suitcase. Oh my God. Anyway, I know they love puffins. Eating them, it's a delicacy. So Heather, I can't believe you did a day trip to Iceland. It takes 5 hours from Spain to get to Iceland, but I suppose it's closer from the UK. But that must have been an expensive trip, because it's very expensive, isn't it, in Iceland? Anyway, this lad was telling me, so he's 14. And he was, I said, he's only been in Spain a month. So I said, I expect you're missing, your home, etc., and your friends at school. Oh, no, he said. So apparently, which really surprised me, because when my son went to Iceland, it was a very safe place to go to. It was just sort of, nothing much ever happened there, because it's a tiny place. Nearly everyone's related to each other somehow in Iceland, because it's so small. Anyway, this young lad said to me, he said, "Oh, no, it's really dangerous." He said, in Reykjavik, which is where my son stayed, it's the capital, of course, and it's where this boy comes from. "Oh, no, it's really dangerous." He said, "There's a lot of teenagers out there with knives. They're all stabbing each other. It's a dangerous place to live, blah, de, blah, de, blah." He said, "Do you know what London's like?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, a little bit." "Well, it's just like London now." He said, "It's just like lots of stabbings, lots of immigrants, the usual immigration thing. Yes, very dangerous place." Anyway, so, I thought, maybe I'll cross Iceland off my bucket list then. Maybe I won't go to Iceland if it's such a dangerous place to go to, according to him. And then he started talking about the food, So I said, "Well, what's a typical traditional dish in Iceland?" Now, when you wish you'd not asked something. So something that I never knew. And I asked my son, I said, "Did you try this dish while you were in Iceland?" He went, "Oh, no, no, no." So typical traditional dish in Iceland is a goat's head on a plate surrounded by vegetables. So I just looked at him and I said, "Oh, no, I couldn't eat something that was looking at me." He said, "Oh, no, the eyes are taken out." I was like, "Oh, well, that's all right then." So they take the eyes out. That's fine then. That's fine. So they take out the brains. Now, a bit of a trigger warning here if you're sensitive. If you're a vegetarian or a vegan, you better just skip on a little bit. So this is the dish. Let's have a look at it. A traditional Icelandic dish. Lovely, isn't it? Yum, yum, yum. A goat's head which apparently is the brain's taken out, the eyes are taken out, it's cooked, singed, and look, you've got neeps and tatties there with it. How could you eat that? Sorry. But on what platform? So I was trying to look at him politely. Now, actually, I've got to say, this boy, he doesn't like it. His favourite dish is pasta. Thank God for that. He said, oh, no, I don't like it. I wouldn't eat it. But this apparently is a traditional delicacy. So it makes puffins look like nothing, doesn't it? If I had to choose, I'd rather eat a puffin, I think, if I had to do one or the other. How could you eat this? What is there to eat on it anyway? It's revolting. So if you ever go to Iceland, and I don't mean the shop Iceland, I mean if you ever go to the country Iceland, this apparently is typical dish. It's called zvio. And look, served with mashed potatoes, and they look like parsnips. That looks like neeps and tatties to me. How could you eat that? Oh, anyway, sorry about that. I just wanted to share it because I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that anybody could eat that. So I won't be having that for my tea tonight. Let's put it that way. Okay, so that's enough of that. So I just thought I'd share that with you because I thought it was interesting. So now we're going to look at this Delphi case. So let's put the picture back up in full of Abbi and Libby. Now, I don't know if many of you know about this case. I've done 2 videos on it. We're going to look at the videos that I've done on it. Not the whole video, but just to give you a background. I'm just going to read out to you the background from a Wikipedia, just so you get an idea. Now, this incident happened on February the 13th. What is it about February? I've noticed lately a lot of the cases, like Sebastian Rogers going missing, the Madeline Soto case, lots of them see what's going on with February. Anyway, this happened on February the 13th, 2017. So these parents of these 2 girls, they've waited a long time for this trial. This guy, he wasn't arrested all that long ago. So there was a long time that they didn't know who had done this. And it happened in Delphi, near Monon High Bridge, Deer Creek Township, Carroll County, Indiana. Now I'm just going to have a look on the map. Maybe I can show. So it's Indiana. Where is it as far as America's concerned? Let's have a look. Yeah. I'm just going to show you a little map of where it is. So here is Delphi. And this, I presume, is, you know how good I am with geography. I don't know about the Deer Creek. And as far as America is concerned, Indiana is not far from Chicago, Ohio, Illinois. So that's where this red outline is. That's where this case happened. And basically, these two, I say little girls, are not little girls. They were young adults, young teenagers. Libby and Abbi. Their sister dropped them off at at this park. It's like one of those nature trail type places. Let me get the exact details of what it is. Hang on. Yeah, it's the Monon High Bridge Trail, which is part of the Delphi Historic Trails in Delphi, Indiana. And their sister dropped them off in the morning, in the early afternoon, round about 1:35 p.m. Their sister dropped them off because they wanted to go to this trail. They were off school. And they were hiking on the Monon High Bridge over Deer Creek. We're going to have a look at that bridge in a moment. Now, since this happened, that the bridge has been made safer. It's not a bridge I would have wanted to go across. But anyway, when I show you the video that I made earlier, you'll see something about it. So at 2:07 p.m., they were dropped off at 1:35. And at 2:07, a photo was posted on Snapchat of Abigail walking over the bridge, and after this they were never heard of again. So they were reported missing at 5:30 because they were supposed to one of the girl, Libby's dad, was supposed to pick them up at 3:15. They didn't turn up to be picked up. So, gosh, they were only supposed to be gone a couple of hours. Anyway, the families then went out and searched for them. Finally, they phoned the police because they couldn't find them anywhere. And initially, foul play was not suspected. So they probably thought these two girls, they just, got lost maybe, or got chatting to someone. There's various things that might have happened. Hi, Yvonne. Yvonne, you're on chat. You're on chat. We can see you. Look. There you are. Yvonne, you're here. Hi, JBT. You can't hear anything. Can everybody else hear me okay? Yvonne, it might be your phone. Have you got the volume turned up? I know that seems like a silly question, but sometimes that happens to me. You say you can't hear anything, but I think everybody else can. Let me know if the rest of you can hear me okay. So let's start I'm going to show you the videos that I made about this case, or bits of them, just to give you the background. Now, one thing that I do know now, and again, trigger warning because it's not very nice, but these two girls when they were found the next day, they had their throats slit and they had been undressed. And when they were dressed again by whoever had done it to them, they were in the wrong clothes, apparently. But anyway, this is all I don't want to go into the gory details of it, but just let's say that these deaths were so gory, these murders were so gory, that the first judge that was supposed to be for this trial, he recused himself. He couldn't cope with it, the judge. And so he removed himself from the trial. So let's have a look. Which one shall I show? Yeah, we'll show this one first. Right. 2017. They just decided they wanted to go on a trail. Go these nature trails again. I mean, it's particularly awful, isn't it? Because these places are places of beauty. nature trails, you know, Rachel Marin, Miriam, the lady that went missing not far from Rachel, so that was on a nature trail. Then you've got Charlotte Senna, who was kidnapped from a national park, from a state park. You know, it's terrible. People should be allowed to go and enjoy these places of beauty without being worried. You know, that some. Yeah, sorry, it's a bit echoey. But this is when I used to do the videos downstairs in the dungeon, in the classroom. It was a bit echoey. So yeah, the first, because this is a year ago that I made this video. Yeah, nature trails, beauty spots. People should be safe in these places, you know, women or men. It's so annoying that people are scared now of going to places of beauty because of these horrible things that happen there. I mean, these two girls, they went together. They were together, the two of them. They should have been safe. You know, they didn't go on their own, but even if they went on their own, they should have been safe. Just makes me so angry, these twonks. Something terrible might happen to them. So anyway, these two girls, they disappeared from near the Monon High Bridge Trail, which is part of the Delphi historical trails in Delphi, Indiana. Now, they'd asked their parents to, you know, they said they wanted to go on this trail. The parents dropped them off. And then, the older sister dropped them off, Kelsey German, and off they went, hiking around Deer Creek, among woodland. They went over the bridge. Now, at 2:07 p.m. that day, German posted a photo of Williams. I wish I wouldn't call them by their surnames. So, sorry, Liberty posted a photo of Abigail, who was walking the bridge. Now, I'll show you a picture of the bridge shortly, or it'll come up in a video. It's very high. Gosh, I don't think I'd like to walk over it. But anyway, after she posted this photo on the social media, they were never heard from again. I would definitely not want to go over that bridge. I don't know. Let's have a look at the picture of it. See if I can find it. Anyway, it'll come up on a video, but you definitely wouldn't. Well, I wouldn't want to go on it, but they have made it more secure now. Let's just fast forward. The parents were saying to them, look, if they said they'd be here at 3:15, they'd be here at 3:15. Anyway, the following day, the parents' worst nightmare happened, and their two bodies were found about half a mile away from the bridge. And they were found out apparently on the north bank of Deer Creek. Now, we don't know much more than that, because as far as the actual murders were concerned, because police are reluctant to release details of, as always, you know. Yeah, so a year ago, we didn't know much. But of course now, because the trial's coming up, they've had to release details. And one of the details is these poor girls had their throats slit, and there was a lot of blood involved, let's say. So much that the first judge, you know, refused to do the case. So that's one detail that's come out. There's quite a few details. So it turns out that one of the hairs on one of the girls did not fit was not the DNA of the person who's accused of killing these girls. But now it turns out that that hair was probably a member of the family of one of the girls. And because the clothes had been put on the wrong bodies, the girl had, the DNA of the other girl's family, someone from the other girl's family on her hair it was. And that seems logical because, you know, at the end of the day, there's probably, you know, whoever lives in your household, there could be hairs on your clothes, and especially if they'd maybe used the top or whatever. So anyway, you know, all this is going to come out in the trial. It's it's literally only just started. this case there's been no movement on this case, or there had been no movement of this case. So bearing in mind this was 2017, and it's only really been this year in 2023 that so there's been some movement. You know, there's been a suspect has been arrested, and the trials, I think it's set for next year, but we'll check that later.
Yeah.
Now, so in all that time in between, now whether the police had this suspect in mind is another matter, but they obviously didn't have enough evidence to arrest anybody. So it just shows you, you know, justice can be have a long arm sometimes. You know, we get frustrated. We want instant justice, don't we? We want people to be caught instantly, and we want information from the police. And all the time, the police they do have to be so careful what information they give out, because when they do finally have someone and they do finally take them to trial, they cannot risk that trial will be compromised because of information that's come out in the meantime. Anyway, they had one clue. They had one clue because one of the girls had taken Libby German, had the forethought, bless her, rest in peace, Libby. I hope you are at peace. Now this guy has been caught. You'll be even more at peace, hopefully, when he's finally, actually taken to court and convicted and sentenced. But from her phone, the police released an audio recording which they could hear the voice of the suspect saying clearly, "down the hill." They also had a visual image of the guy taken from a mobile phone as well. So apparently there's more evidence from the phone, but the police have not released that because they don't want to compromise any future trial. So there were many rewards were put out. I'm just going to share with you the composite sketch that was made at the time, because you will see that this was quite an accurate sketch. Somebody must have seen this guy on the trail. So these were the sketches that have been issued for the guy, okay? And now I'm going to show you the guy, and you'll see. Here is Richard Allen here. This is the picture. I think does look so much like the sketch that was done, and of course they have got a little, well, they have released part of a video. They've probably got more of that as well. Now, another reason I want to look at this particular picture especially, this is chilling. Let's see if I can get it up any bigger. Yeah, here he is. So here he was when he was arrested. You'll see in pictures we'll look at later. He's lost an awful lot of weight since then, so I don't think prison is agreeing with him. It's a shame, isn't it? I know he hasn't been convicted yet, but oh no, it didn't. Why is it not making that picture? I want to show that particular picture. There. Now this picture is chilling because here he is, the guy, Richard Allen. This is his wife. He's in a bar, and look, here is the one, the suspect. Oh, I need to share it. Here is, this is Richard Allen, the suspect that's been arrested. This is his wife taking a selfie. So the thing is, Richard Allen now, after he's been in prison for a while, he looks nothing like this now. He's lost a lot of weight. He looks like a little frail old man. And there are a lot of people that believe that they have the wrong man. That's what trials are for, isn't it? That's what, that's the whole purpose of being innocent till you're proven guilty. Personally, I don't think he is innocent. I think he is guilty, and I think that the trial will show that. I think the prosecution have got a lot of evidence that's going to come out. I don't think he would have even got as far as trial unless, you know, they were pretty certain. He looks different on this photo, doesn't he, than later photos. Let's see if I can find a photo of him now. He looks different now. He looks more sort of frail and weedy and everything. But to me, on that photo, you know, you think that he's quite capable of doing it. He's a strong guy. He could well be the guy that we've seen on the bridge. So, yeah. So this was him then, you know, stocky. Look at him now. This is him now. Here, he's like a shadow of his former self. So people that are looking at him now won't think that that was him on the photo fit. Look, gosh, look how much weight he's lost. But if you think, look at him as he was, I think he's the dead spit of the photo fit, to be honest. You know, to me, he does look like the photo, not this one, having said that. It's not so much the photo fit he looks like this guy. But a lot of people think he doesn't. So, you know, as I say, we've just got to wait and see what evidence comes out and see what the prosecution have got and see what the defense have got, and he'll get his trial. You know, he'll get his trial and he'll get his, you know, his chance, if you like, to prove his innocence. Not knowing the monster that is stood behind her, allegedly. And in the background of this bar, this is the e-fit of him. Actually in the bar that he's in. Now, here we have the video of him that was released. Down the hill. Down the hill. Down the hill. Guys. Down the hill. Guys. So those girls had the presence of, I mean, to me, that looks just like him. I'm sorry, but it does. It looks exactly like him. But we'll see. Now, the police released this. Apparently, the police have got a lot more footage. It was the two girls, you know, that took this footage of him, saw him walking towards them, had the presence of mind to surreptitiously take these videos. Thank God they did, because otherwise there'd be nothing, would there? There'd be no evidence, perhaps. But I think so far the police have released a snippet, you know, just a snippet of this video. I think they've got a lot more, and that'll come out in trial. This is going to be a long trial, and I think there'll be a lot of interesting things come out here. Already a lot of interesting things have come out. It's a terrible, terrible crime. Just, you know, more terrible than a lot of crimes, you know, with the slit in someone's throat and the blood loss, etc. There's a lot more to come here. But to me, that does look like him. But anyway, that's just what I think. Down the hill. Guys. Down the hill. So can you imagine that? He's coming walking towards them over that bridge. And those girls had the presence of mind, you know, to actually take a sneaky video of him and audio. And you notice he says, girls down the hill. Guys. Sorry, guys. Where is that gone now? Wait a minute. I wanted to show it again. It's not letting me go back to it. I don't want to look at that, definitely, whatever that is. Okay. Hiccup location, they were reported missing. Their bodies were found the next day. Now, because, well, you see the video in a minute, he looks like a different man. He's lost a lot of weight. Okay, so yeah, it's all still a bit secretive. Oh, there they are. Let's have a look at their photos. Liberty. This is the little map, isn't it? So they were dropped off here. And I presume that's where they were going to pick him up. Then it was pick him up. It was cordoned off and their bodies were found here. Bless. Now, as I say, no, this is that picture. Yeah, smiling with his wife while over his shoulder, a police sketch strongly resembling him is posted on the wall inside Bob Matlock's bar where he's having a drink. God. You know, he must have thought he'd got away with it. Let's watch this video. So this is the video that I was trying to show you again. I mean, I can't wait to see the whole video because, as I say, they've got a lot more to it. Now, this Richard Allen, let me just tell you a little bit about him because he's well known in the neighbourhood. He's, you know, popular guy. He works in some sort of or he worked in a place where they develop photos or print off things because the parents went in there to have some posters printed off, you know, while Libby and Abbi were missing or after they were found, like, you know, to try and find out what had happened to them. And he gave them the posters free. He didn't charge, and they said he was so nice, so pleasant, so helpful. And when they went to pay for these posters, etc., he said, "Oh no, it's fine. You know, don't have to pay." So he was a popular figure in the area, well-known and popular figure in this area. It's awful, isn't it? Because especially because there were two of them. So, you know, you would think that your daughter, your child would be safe with their friends, you know, more than how high it is. I mean, obviously it's quite wide. And so this is the bridge. Now there's been railings put up on this bridge because honestly, I don't think I could walk. It gives me vertigo just looking at it. But this was the last snapshot picture, you know, that of Libby. Abigail took that photo of her just before that guy started. He said, Richard Allen said he'd gone there that day. He's admitted already to having been there, but he said he went there to watch fish. You know, I'm not really sure how you watch fish, but anyway, that's why he said he was there. And this was the last picture taken before the guy came walking along the bridge. So the guy, I'm presuming, whoever it was, came from here and walked up this bridge, and that's when they took a photo of him. He must have had a weapon, mustn't he, whoever it was, whether it was Richard or not, whoever it was, to get those two girls to go with him, he must have had a weapon. He did have, there was a bullet found, though Libby and Abbi weren't killed by a bullet. As I say, unfortunately, their throats were slit. But there was a bullet, an unspent bullet found at the scene, which the police say belonged to his gun. And it's safe to walk across. But when you know, for someone like me who has a fear of heights, I don't know if I could have walked. Well, I could walk across it if I had to, but I don't think I would choose to walk across it. But anyway, there's Libby being filmed by a friend just moments before they were, you know, taken from this planet by an evil man. And that was the sketch. You can see it looks just like him. Apparently, so that's, I mean, I do feel for his wife. I do feel for her because this will be awful for her. And they live just miles from the bridge where the two teens disappeared. So it just shows, because you never know, you know, what's going on in people's lives. This is another that was released. This doesn't look so much like him because there's no facial hair on it. There's another picture of him with his wife. He does not appear to have a prior criminal history, and he was known locally for working in the local CVS. And I don't, you know, I'm rubbish with initials, so I have no idea what CVS means. You know, he looks sort of normal there, doesn't he? His wife obviously thought he was normal. That's his daughter, his 28-year-old daughter, Brittany. And this is a picture that was posted to Facebook by his wife, Kathy, in 2018, just over a year after the girls disappeared. And she is sitting there on the bridge, that poor girl. So my heart goes out to her as well. I mean, who did he? Makes you wonder, you know, these sort of sickos, they get sick pleasure out of things. Did he get sick pleasure of taking a photo or having a photo taken of his daughter on that bridge that he'd walked along? Joe, sometimes people are just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Those girls, any other day, maybe they would have gone there and they would have had no incident. And that particular day, he was there. Or was he always hanging around? It's chilling, isn't it? That, you know, just being in the wrong place. And that could have been his daughter, but with some other nutcase, some other psychopath. I don't understand how these people don't think of their own children. You know, when they're killing other people's children, it doesn't seem to matter. You know, even though they've got children themselves that supposedly they love. Yeah. Let me just go back, make sure I haven't missed any of the pictures. Anyway, so prayers for Brittany as well, because I do feel for her. It's not her fault. It's not his wife's fault, Kathy. It's his fault. He's brought all this. Oh, so these are Libby and Abigail's family members at the news conference. God. Let me just go back, make sure I haven't missed any of the pictures. Anyway, so prayers for Brittany as well, because I do feel spouses, children, walk amongst us. Sorry, I was just looking for that other now the other photo fit doesn't look like him. There's that photo fit with no beard. I think that's what's causing consternation to people as well. Who is the person with no facial hair? You know, why, who is that? Was there somebody else involved in this crime? Was it him and someone else? Or was it nothing to do with him? You know, so there you know, it's interesting to, you know, see what comes out in the trial, see what evidence comes out in the trial. But yeah, there are, I think that photo fit of the person with no facial hair, which I can't find now. I'm sure you saw it. I don't know. That is a bit of a worry. All right, these poor girls. That's the video again, isn't it? We won't look at it again. And that, I do find this picture so chilling. He's sat there smirking and knowing every time he's gone in there, he's known that that's him that's being looked for. Allegedly. Hi, Libby and Abigail. Okay, so let's just go back to what the article says. So it's just going into the different charges he might face. Currently given to. Now, I've just fast forwarded it a bit because so one of his defences has been that this murder is to do with Odinism, and I looked at it in this video, and that it's nothing to do with him. He's accusing police officers of this Odinism. Let's have a look at a racist variant of the Norse pagan religion known as Asatru. In fact, I'm going to share this with you so you can see it. You know, what is wrong with people? Why can't people just, why can't people just accept that everybody's the same inside? You know, we do have cultural differences, of course we do, but we have to accept each other's differences. This racial supremacy of any race, I just think it's terrible. But anyway, Odinism is a term frequently given to a racist variant of the Norse pagan religion known as Asatru. Asatru is a religious sect that attempts to revive ancient Norse religious beliefs and practices of pre-Christian Europe. Asatru is not in itself a racist religion, although some white supremacists consider themselves Asatruists. Odinism is sometimes referred to as Wotanism, and it tends to be popular amongst white supremacist inmates, so people in prison. Dear me, you know, honestly, that these sort of things do make me despair of the world sometimes. So now I'm going to show you a video now which talks about Odinism. And what, so he's saying that it was Odinists that committed this crime. Not that he's an Odinist. But anyway, let's have a look at this video. We're going to have a look at a video from Court TV, which talks about it, which might give us a bit more understanding of exactly what we're dealing with here. Just need to find it. Yeah. Okay.
For more than 5 years, it was a mystery, an unsolved case with many leads, suspicious characters, and so many rumors. Investigators released very little information, but journalists, podcasters, and true crime followers all speculated on what happened to best friends Abbi Williams and Libby German, two teenage girls living in the small rural community of Delphi, Indiana.
Yeah, and this has been in the true crime community. You know, I've seen loads of videos about this case. And the thing is, you know, it's like with Nicola Bulley, like any of these cases when it's mystery. I mean, obviously these girls were declared, it was declared a homicide. But, you know, any cases where there's any mystery and the public don't feel like things add up, the police, it must be very frustrating for the police when they're trying to conduct an investigation and they can only give out a little bit of information because they don't want to compromise the investigation. It probably is so much more difficult now with social media because people are interested and they, you know, they'll go there, they'll take footage, that, you know, I think there's no point saying why do people do it. People do it. So I think what the police and everyone has got to try and do is what's happened there? Right, it's just switched off for some reason. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Why is it stopped working? Right, stopped working for some reason.
A town with just 3,000 residents.
Sorry, guys. Walk amongst us.
That is white supremacists. They're linked to prison gangs. So,
right. I don't know what's going on, but it keeps going off for some reason. It's just gone off for some reason. Anyway, never mind. You sort of get the idea of what's going on. So he's blaming it on occults, the Odinists, of which he says is prison officers and police, etc. So that's going to come into the trial as well. That's what he's saying is happening. So now there was something else I wanted to show you. Let's have a look. Hang on. Now, the actual defense, they're trying to ban that audio of him saying down the hill, or whoever it was saying down the hill. The defense attorneys are trying to prohibit that testimony because it is so damaging to him. But I don't think they'll get away with that. I don't think, to be honest. So apparently today, which of course is tonight, I mean, the trial, will it be going on at the moment, the trial as we're speaking? I think they're going to give details of the murder scene. You know, all the information's going to come out over the next sort of few days, etc. And that particular audio of the bridge man, bridge guy, they call him, the defense are trying to, you know, stop that being presented as evidence. But that is key evidence, isn't it? That is key evidence. So I don't know how they're going to do that. Let's see. Well, we've got a live blog here. What's going on? So, yeah, the jury has viewed crime scene photos. That will have been not very nice, will it? Because apparently it was very, very brutal. So family members of both the girls and Richard Allen, this is today, were emotional. Much of the courtroom struggled watching. Libby's mother cried, Libby's younger sister looking away from the exhibits most of the time. Libby's grandparents, Mike and Becky Patty, held hands as the photos were shown. And on seeing a close-up image of the girls, Richard Allen's mother began to cry. And then they've gone off for lunch. So they've gone off for lunch and they're waiting at the moment for them to come back over lunch, after lunch. I would presume this will be on court TV or something. Will the trial actually be live? Don't know. I don't know if it is televised because they've got those, you know, the usual not very good court sort of sketches. I'm just trying to look and see if it is actually. Let's have a look at this update.
Good afternoon, everyone. We begin 13 News at Noon with breaking news in the Delphi murders trial. Today, jurors saw graphic photos of the crime scene for the first time. Our senior investigative reporter, Bob Siegel, is live in Delphi right now. And Bob, we know you were in the courtroom just now as these images were shown in court.
I was, Matthew. Really hard day here inside the Carroll County Courthouse. We knew this day would come. For justice to be served here, the jury needs to understand what exactly happened at the crime scene. And they today got to see for the first time actual photographs of the crime scene, including bloody footage, pictures of the victims, Abbi Williams and Libby German. They saw pictures of their bodies in the woods. And I'll share with you some of the information that you're about to hear is graphic. So just a warning about that. The pictures of Libby's body that the jurors saw, she was lying in the woods naked. The jurors saw both of the girls' throats slit. They saw the blood. What the prosecutor described and warned a few days ago of the gruesome crime scene that these jurors were going to be seeing. And I can tell you that some of the jurors were visibly shaken. One of the jurors.
Sorry about this. If I would have known what he was going to say, I would have given you a bit of a trigger warning. But I just don't know how these families. Imagine seeing those scenes. Your own daughter, like that. How do they cope? How do they cope? And also difficult for his family as well. And I think we always have to spare a thought for the family of the perpetrators, alleged perpetrators. Because if he is found guilty, and personally I think he's as guilty as anything, that's difficult for his family, his wife, his daughter. They've got to live with that. You know, I follow on Twitter BTK's daughter, you know, Dennis Rader, his daughter, Kerry Rawson. You know, she's living with that even now, even all these years he's been in prison. She's living with the fact of what her father did. So, you know, that's difficult as well. So I want to spare a thought for them. But of course, the main thoughts go to the family of the two girls.
Put his head down at one point, put his hands on top of his head as he looked down, as some of the most graphic photos were shown. Another juror, she was seen repeatedly just taking big, deep breaths and adjusting herself in her seat as she was seeing these. These are very tough things for anyone to see. And as you can imagine, extremely difficult for the families to see. And the families of Abbi and Libby were in the courtroom today. They put their heads down in their hands and they were crying as they saw these. They got to see the photos for the first time on Saturday. The video that you're seeing, I believe right now, is of the families as they were leaving court at the end of testimony Saturday. The prosecutor gave them a chance to preview the photos that the jury was going to get to see. They were very emotional on Saturday as they left the courtroom, as you can imagine. So the testimony today, it came from Jason Page. He's the Indiana State Police crime scene investigator who processed the crime scene. He methodically walked jurors through 3 crime scene diagrams that he made up based on what he saw at the crime scene, and 43 separate crime scene photos that he took. Before that, we heard testimony from Darren Giancola. He's a Carroll County Sheriff's detective, and he was the first law enforcement officer to see the girls' bodies at the crime scene. He called in the information. He described seeing a substantial amount of blood around both of the girls. And he testified today to the jury. Both had large lacerations to their throats. Again, the jury got to see exactly what the investigators were talking about. Large screens set up in the courtroom where these photographs were shown to the jury.
Now, one thing that I will say is this: Richard Allen, let's suppose he is guilty. Why did he just suddenly do that? You know, has he never done anything like that before? That's unusual for someone of his age to just suddenly, you know, come out and do something like this. And not only him, but say it wasn't him. Have there been other cases in that area? It's a completely random thing to do just out of nowhere, isn't it? You know, normally, you know, killers like that with an extreme thing like that, you know, with the slitting someone's throat, etc. Normally that doesn't just come out of nowhere. You know, killers like that, those kind of killers, like ritualistic killers, they don't normally start at his age to kill people, do they? So that is one thing I've got to say is, how has this just come out of nowhere? Surely he's done other things. Now, it may, one thing you've got to remember is it may come out after the trial, if he's found guilty, that he has done other things, that, you know, he does have other offences. That is something that quite often, look at what the case we covered, you know, when I was talking about Grace Mullane and Jessie, that twonk that murdered her, turned out, I mean, he was a lot younger than Richard Allen. Turned out, yeah, he had done bad things to women before, but just never came to light until the Grace Mullane thing. So this is what might happen, you know, and I'm only saying might, I don't know. Just, it does seem like a random thing to do, isn't it? To go, if he's got an exemplary record and it turns out he's got no, you know, previous convictions for anything, it's a random thing to just suddenly do when you're in your 50s or whatever. I think he's 50. How old is he? It does seem like a random thing to just suddenly do out of nowhere. Because people normally escalate slowly, don't they? They don't normally go from doing nothing wrong to just suddenly, you know, slitting two girls' throats and doing whatever. So that's the only thing that I would say. It does seem unusual. Now, I'm just looking on Wikipedia now, and they, according to Wikipedia, video footage recovered from Libby's phone showed one of the victims mentioning a gun as a man wearing a dark jacket and jeans approached them and ordered them to go down the hill. And investigators believe the suspect is the man seen in the video, and they found a .40 caliber unspent round less than 2 feet from one victim's body, but between the two victims. And it was later determined that that round, this is the other evidence they've got against Richard Allen, that that bullet came from a gun that was owned by him. What else? There's been quite a few problems. There was also problems due to crime scene photos were leaked. So that made a big fuss with this case. But anyway, yeah, there's so much to come out, isn't there? So much. And, you know, Richard Allen, he'll get his trial. He deserves his trial. He's innocent till he's proven guilty.
Very challenging, difficult morning of testimony. Because of that, the judge decided to break early around 11:30, just a few minutes ago, and the jurors will have a break until 1 o'clock when court will resume. We will be back in the courtroom to bring you more testimony, to tell you more about the evidence that the jurors are weighing through as they see the evidence on a very, very tough day of testimony here in Delphi. Matthew, back to you.
So they broke for lunch, or they had broke for lunch. They were, let's see how old they were, Lorna. I may not have mentioned in this video how old they were. I think they were 14, but I'll just check. Let's see. So Abbi was born in 2003 and died in 2017. So yeah, 14. They were both 14. Yeah. Early teens, early teenagers. Let me just see if there is anything on. I don't know if it's being actually filmed, this trial. Let's have a look at this. Where's the sound?
Richard Allen. It's day 3 of this trial. No cameras are allowed in the courtroom.
But our senior producer, Barbara McDonald, is there inside.
So no cameras are allowed in the courtroom. So we'll watch this. And another thing I just wanted to tell you about is the trial is also going on of Adam Fravel, who murdered, allegedly, Madeline Kingsbury. We followed that case when she was missing for quite a long time, and that his trial has started, but there are no cameras allowed in that courtroom either. But I will do an update on that at some point. But let's just watch this.
And she joins us now from the phone. Barbara, let us know what you can about what happened today during the morning session.
So we heard from 2 witnesses today. The first was the first law enforcement officer who arrived at the crime scene after that volunteer searcher reported finding the bodies. And this was Carroll County Deputy Darren Giancola. And he described parking at the cemetery that was just north of the crime scene and walking straight south down from that cemetery to the creek. And he said he got to the creek where he encountered several people who were the people who had reported finding the bodies of Abbi and Libby alongside that creek. And he said that on his walk down, he did not notice the bodies. But once he encountered those people and he saw the clothing in the creek, he described a multicolored t-shirt and a black and white Nike shoe that he saw in the creek. He said the searchers told him that behind him was where the bodies were. And then he got closer to that area. He said that you couldn't really see them from the creek, but as he got closer, he could. He described that Libby was found nude, Abbi was clothed. He said he saw a significant amount of blood on their bodies and on the ground. And he was asked if he attempted any life-saving measures. And he said he did not, because it was obvious that they were deceased. Now, the second witness, which is number 9 for the state, was Indiana State Police crime scene investigator. The second witness, which is number 9.
Look at that bridge. Could you walk along that bridge? I couldn't walk along that bridge. Well, I would have to go on my hands and knees In fact, just looking at it, my head's going. I'm getting vertigo. Just looking at it, I would be crawling on my hands and knees. And even then, I would feel like I would fall off. Anyway, they have put barriers up now. I'm going to look for a photo while you're watching this. They have put not barriers, handrails up on it now. But, you know, I don't think anyone's ever fallen off it from what I know. You know, obviously Libby and Abbi, they didn't die from the bridge. They died because a twonk killed them.
For the state was Indiana State Police crime scene investigator Jason Page, and he got to the scene around 2 o'clock, he said. So the bodies were first found by that searcher at noon. Law enforcement began arriving about 12:15, and this gentleman arrived around 2 o'clock. He went through 44 images that were entered into evidence, and the first 3 were depictions that he made showing the topography of the area as well as the placement of the bodies. The rest were all photographs that he took of not only the scene, the creek, where the crime scene barrier tape was placed, but also close-ups showing how these girls were found on that February day back in 2017. There were some, I guess, privacy blockers placed over Abbi, or rather Libby's body, because she was nude. So they had.
Is he, to me, he's got those eyes again. I'm sorry, he has. Look at his eyes. Look at his eyes. The only thing I'll say I find strange is, why did he suddenly do it at his age? You know, and normally these twonks, they start in their 20s. So unless something comes out later on that maybe we don't know yet, that's a surprise to me that he's suddenly done something like this. Maybe he just saw the opportunity, or maybe he's been waiting for an opportunity, he's never had it before, or maybe it wasn't him.
These black rectangles covering parts of her body for modesty, I assume. You did see a significant amount of blood on her. They also showed an area just south of where the girls' bodies were, where there was a large pool of blood. And then the tree where Libby was found was not the tree that had the blood patterns on it. That was a couple of feet away, and there was a smaller circle of blood on the ground near that tree. And this officer described 2 areas on the tree that had blood. And he knew that they had swabbed them. He photographed those areas, and they showed them to us. They did not look like blood, though, because of the material he used for testing. The blood actually looked blue in the images that we were seeing today. We're back in session at 1 o'clock, and we assume we're going to be on cross-examination with this same witness.
All right, Barbara McDonald, I'll let you get back into the courtroom. Barbara will be with us throughout the day here on Court TV with the details. And boy, it's just got to be horrible for these jurors, but the family members to see those images. It's just
so much blood. I mean, that's been part of this case where someone saw a man who they said resembled Richard Allen covered in blood, like he had been slaughtering an animal. And when you hear about how much blood was involved, it's just chilling to think about what happened in those woods.
Oh, it's just what these 2 little girls went through is just, it's hard to get your head around. Jessica Ehrlich is with us. In this case, Jessica, there's this sort of secrecy that's been imposed by this Judge Gall, who's up in the, and I guess there's fear. Different judges have different fears about cameras and access. Some of it is because they don't want to have to be judged themselves. Some is because they're thinking from a legal standpoint, it's better for, but what it's created is this, there's an undercurrent. There's some people think Richard Allen's innocent, and this is a bunch of Odinist gang members and blah, blah, blah. It is a shame that we don't get to watch this trial because, and I think at the back end, it's a shame for the state and for those investigators because concealing stuff just feels like you're hiding something for a reason. And this is one of those cases. But a day like today, boy, where Barbara describing that just gives you chills. That's where I just think that this is one of those cases where letting the light in wouldn't hurt anybody, including Richard Allen and more importantly, maybe the state of Indiana.
I mean, it's also, I think the other side is that we are talking about a heinous crime that affected 2 young girls and their families, and that the concern, especially when you have juveniles, as you know, it's better, even in any sense, when you're in court, you don't refer to them by name, you redact information on them. I mean, you know, my concern also is, given the amount of celebrity, if you will, around this man, that he wouldn't have copycats who try to go out and do similar things to what he's done. We see that very often. And I don't know that the full facts being, you know, revealed in this situation. I think the state has a very strong case and it will be what it is. But there are a lot of evildoers out there, and they take things like this as a signal to be more creative or to come up with different ways to handle things. So I don't know. I mean, I think it goes sort of both ways. It's always good to have sunshine in the law, but in a situation like this, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, every state is different and every judge is different. Now, this jury, something that's different about them, they're sequestered, so they have trial on Saturday to try and use up as many days as possible. So it's shortened that they'll be in this sequestered position there in the courtroom. Let's go to WRTV. It's our affiliate there. They have a report on what all happened on Saturday for day 2 of this trial.
The second day of the Delphi double murders trial was a bit emotional for the family, as testimony described how the girls were found back in 2017. Steve Mullen, who is the current investigator for the prosecutor's office and was the Delphi police chief in February of 2017, took to the stand to describe his timeline of what happened on February 13th. He also spent some time geographically explaining areas of the trails for the jury to better understand. Jake Johns, a Delphi resident, took to the stand next and testified to discovering Libby's shirt while searching near the riverbank. The final witness to take to the stand was Pat Brown, a Delphi resident and family friends of Libby German's grandparents. He testified to his search efforts on both the 13th and the 14th. He says after getting a phone call, he headed to an area near the High Bridge, ultimately discovering the girls' bodies. And when describing the moment he came across Abbi and Libby, he started crying and had to pause for a moment and said, "We found them," and added at first he thought they were mannequins.
Yeah, they always think they're mannequins, don't they? That's a common thing, isn't it, that they say. So I just want to show you the bridge now. Let's have a look. Look, is this the same bridge that they've put these, have they put these, or is this a different one? Oh no, is this the same one? So what was a historic rail corridor and long-time unofficial pedestrian bridge has now been preserved, repaired and open for the community to safely use. The Monon High Bridge Trail was transformed using a $1.25 million grant from the state's Next Level Trails program. Well, it looks a bit safer now, if that is the same one. Oh, go away. Looks a little bit safer. You know, I don't know if is that the same one? I think it is. I could walk across it with now that you can't see in between, and, you know, looks a bit safer now to walk across. Yeah, it is the same one, isn't it? So let's see, what have they done to it? Oh, so now bikes can go across it. They've repaired severely damaged parts of the bridge and stabilised it. And a new trailhead parking area, lighting, trail cameras and information kiosks were installed. Okay. Well, good. But, I don't think that would have saved Abbi and Libby, because they were just unlucky. It's like sometimes it's like just being in the wrong place at the wrong time, isn't it? Probably loads of times you could have gone to that trail and be safe as anything. Same with Rachel Marin, and then the one day that you go and that twonk's there waiting. Terrible, isn't it? It just makes me so angry, because you should be able to go to any of these places. They're public places, that why should you not be able to go, two young girls together? They've gone together, they've not gone alone. They've taken a video of the weirdo guy that's coming over the bridge. They've done whatever they can to stay safe, and they weren't safe. Disgusting. Well, I hope if it is Richard Allen who's done this and the evidence substantiates it, I hope he's found guilty. I hope he's gets a long sentence. And if it wasn't him, then I hope they managed to catch who it was then. The thought of anybody being still out there. See, the other thing is, if nothing's happened since Richard Allen's been arrested, then that can lead you to think that it probably was him. But he hadn't done anything before that, as far as we know. So I don't think it was what's the word? I don't think there'd been other murders of that type, whether by Richard Allen or not. Do you know what I mean? This murder of these two, this double murder of these two girls, sort of came out of nowhere. Hi, Moonbeam. Of course, I've nearly finished now, Moonbeam. So you're coming. It's going to be a high and a bye, unfortunately. Now, much as I would love to stay awake for to find out what's happening, I'm going to start following this track. I haven't followed it very closely so far. There's been so many other things going on, isn't there? There's always something going on. But I think I will try to follow this trial, in normal videos as it goes on, when there's anything important comes up. Yeah, a lot of rage, David. And Lorna, you're right. I think if Richard Allen has done this, or whoever's done it, unless they're a young person, they must have done other things. I just don't believe you go from, not with strangers as well. Sometimes people who've not done anything before end up doing something to somebody that they're in a relationship with or whatever. But it's quite unusual for a stranger, for people to be murdered by a stranger. It is actually really unusual. People are normally murdered by people they know. And it's not rage sort of killings, are normally for a reason. There's because somebody's left them, or they're imagined reasons, that we wouldn't think of were good reasons to kill somebody. But there is a reason. But in this case, just seems to me, and time will tell, but just seems to me that if he is guilty, if Richard Allen is guilty, just seems strange that this has come out of nowhere. He's got to have other offences at his age. I don't believe he's got to his age and then just suddenly decided to slit the throats of two 14-year-old girls. There's got to be more to it, I think. Yeah, a big step from nothing to slitting the throats of 2 young girls. You know, that's an escalation, you know, an enormous escalation, isn't it? That doesn't normally happen, because people normally escalate slowly, don't they? You know, they start off maybe with a bit of stalking or a bit of exhibitionism, and that leads on to maybe going that bit farther, following someone home, you know, and then actually doing something, you know, violation maybe or whatever, and then eventually murder. Yeah. Yeah, so why was he even in that area? So he said he went to look at fish. Well, come on, nobody goes to look at fish. So that's just a load of rubbish to start with. Why was it? So he wasn't obviously working that day. I mean, he had a job. So did he go there? You know, it makes you wonder, had he been there regularly, or him or whoever did it, had they been there regularly, and that just was that moment where he had the ideal opportunity. But he must have had opportunities before, you know, or I don't know. There must have been people there on their own, or women on their own. It didn't look like a dog walking place, did it? So it looked like, did it? It's not a local place. So it looked like a place that people had to go to. You know, not like, you know, if you're just going around your local park with your dogs and you're going every day. It looked like a place that people would actually have to drive out to and go to, not so much a dog walking place. I don't know. But I think more will come out, you know, as this trial goes on. Those sort of questions that we're asking. Maybe I'll, you know, try and put together like a list of questions that we would like to ask about this case. You know, my prime question would be, was he there? Now, they didn't, you know, they didn't go there on a regular basis, so it's not as if he was thinking, oh, Libby and Abbi will be here today. He was there. He saw those girls. Was he just looking for any victim? Or was he just looking at fish and then he saw them and he took the advantage of the fact, you know, there wasn't anybody around? But he took a big chance, because that bridge is very exposed, isn't it? That bridge, you would see someone on that bridge, you would spot them a mile off. You know, it's not hidden up on the bridge, is it? But, you know, I don't know. We'll see. Now, I've got to love you and leave you, because I've got to go get my snoozes. I've got to be up early in the morning, got classes. Actually, I've got a supermarket delivery really early in the morning before my classes at 7 o'clock. Got the supermarket coming, so we'll have some food. Okay, but listen, thank you for caring about Libby and Abbi. Thank you for being here with me tonight. Thank you for being members, because of course this is the members live. I will be editing this and putting it out publicly, but I will edit off the terrible singing on my part and just stick to the story of Libby and Abbi. So no, Moonbeam, they hadn't planned to meet anybody. No, well, as far as we know, unless something comes out in the trial. Of course, I think there's going to be things come out in the trial maybe that we don't know about. Maybe they have. Maybe they've been catfished. You know what? You just don't know, do you? Why did they choose to go there that day? So they got their sister, one of their sisters dropped them off, and their dad was picking them up a few hours later. And of course, they didn't turn up to be picked up. But that's a very good point. Is it going to come up that they were catfished? Did somebody arrange to meet them? That wouldn't be the first time, would it, that that's happened? Somebody pretending to be, you know, same age as them. Because how did that guy, how did he know? You know, did he see them up on the bridge, or did he know that they were there? Maybe they had. But anyway, all that's going to come out in the wash, isn't it? So thank you again. As always, I'll see you really soon in the next video. And until then, oh, and don't forget to like, of course, because I haven't put my banners up. Don't forget to leave your fingerprint on the like button. And yeah, take care. I'll see you really soon in the next video. And until then, as always, may your God go with you. Thank you.